13 of the fantasy baseball season, and he has a few hitters I look to buy low and trade for this week. The first guy is Nolan Arenado of the St. Louis Cardinals. So on the season for Arenado, 16 home runs, 52 RBIs, 37 runs scored, a 267 batting average, and a 320 on base. So overall, those numbers aren't terrible for him. But obviously, the batting average is low, and the on base, considering where he was over the last 4 or 5 seasons with those numbers here for the Colorado Rockies. And obviously, he's missing Coors Field a little, where that ball carries, and you got a better chance of getting hits and home runs there. In the last couple weeks for Arenado, it's pretty much been a home run and nothing for him. 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, a 227 batting average, and a 314 on base with 4 runs scored. So right now it's been a struggle, like I mentioned, and this is a perfect time to go out there and buy him low, in my opinion. Right now we're entering the hot summer months in July and August, where the ball really carries and where the hitters, they start to get things going even better here. And the last few games for Arenado, June 25th versus Pittsburgh, 2 for 2 with a homer and an RBI. June 26th versus Pittsburgh, 1 for 4. June 27th versus Pittsburgh, 0 for 3 with a rib. June 28th versus Arizona, 1 for 4. June 29th versus Arizona, 2 for 3 with a homer and 2 RBIs. And June 30th versus Arizona yesterday, 0 for 4. So right now, it's pretty much like I mentioned, home run on bust for Arenado. But I think he's going to turn things around, and what's a better way to turn it around than this week versus former team, the Colorado Rockies, in Coors Field, where I could see him have a huge weekend with a few home runs, a few multiple hit games. And right now would be the perfect time to go out there and try to get a deal done here for Arenado before he breaks out this weekend. And it's too late. The next hit is Rendon of the Tampa Bay Rays. So last season was a magical postseason for Arenado in the playoffs here, and leading the Rays all the way to the World Series last year, where they fell short to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And on the season for Arenado, it's a mediocre year. 10 home runs, 40 RBIs, 49 runs scored, a 261 batting average, and a 340 on base. In the last couple weeks for him, the numbers haven't been much either. 1 home run, 5 RBIs, a stolen base, 5 runs scored, a 250 batting average, and a 340 on base. So right now, this guy, we saw the monster power numbers in the playoffs last year, and I know those numbers were a little far-fetched, and the pace he was on here was Arizona, but I think he's too good of a ball player just to have 10 home runs right now, and to only be batting, in my opinion, in the 260s. So I think second half of the season could be a big breakout for him, because right now he just hasn't done much in the last few weeks, in the last few games for him. June 24th versus Boston, 0 for 4. June 26th versus the Angels, 3 for 4 with 3 runs and a rib. June 27th versus the Angels, 0 for 3. June 29th at Washington, 0 for 2. And then June 30th at Washington, 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. So right now, it's just not anything of substance here the last couple weeks for Arizona, except that 1 3 for 4 game on June 26th versus the Angels. But right now, while his value's low, while he's been in a tailspin and a slump the last few weeks, I think this is a perfect time to go out there and buy him low, because he's going to have a big second half, in my opinion. And it's just a first half struggle. So if you could go out there and, trade maybe your 4th or 5th starter on your roster to get him, this is a type of deal I would look to try to make here and get him on a discount. The next hitter I would look to buy low this week's Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers. So Garcia, he came out of the gate as one of the best power hitters in fantasy baseball this season, but it's been a struggle for him, no doubt about it, the last month of the season here for him. But on the season, 20 home runs, 55 RBIs, 39 runs scored, a 270 batting average, and a 309 on base. So his on base to batting average ratio isn't good, in my opinion, only 50 points higher this season. And the last couple weeks here for Garcia, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 9 runs scored, 250 batting average, and a 320 on base. And in the last month, he's only hit the 4 home runs as well. So it's been a bad month for him. But I think this guy's too powerful and too good of a hitter to be struggling right now the way he is for fantasy owners in this Texas Ranger team. But maybe pitches, they've adjusted to him, and they're throwing him more breaking balls, because early in the year, this guy was crushing that fastball. So the last few games for him, June 24th versus Oakland, 0 for 4. June 25th versus Kansas City, 0 for 1 with a run and an RBI. June 26th versus Kansas City, 2 for 3 with 2 runs and a big. June 27th versus the Royals, 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. June 25th at Oakland, 0 for 4. And June 30th at Oakland, 0 for 4. So right now, we haven't seen much out of him over the last week here, except 2 multiple hit games. But besides that, he's not really getting RBIs. He's not really driving the ball over the wall. And right now, I think he's a good buy low candidate, where many fantasy owners who own Garcia might think it was a first half fluke where he was hitting the ball and driving in a lot of runs here. But right now, if I could get him on a discount, which I think you can for a mediocre hitter or middle of the road starter, this is a definite time to go out there and get Garcia, in my opinion. The next hit is Anthony Rendon of the Los Angeles Angels. So Rendon, he signed a huge contract a few off seasons ago with the Angels, and this guy, he just hasn't been the same like he was on the Nationals, where he was winning batting titles, where he was one of the best hitters in the National League. And this season, it's been a train wreck for him. 5 home runs, 33 RBIs, 22 runs scored, a .233 batting average, and a .322 on base. In the last couple weeks, he's hit rock bottom. 1 home run, 3 RBIs, 5 runs scored, a .194 batting average, and a .356 on base. So the only good thing to me here is he's still getting on base here, drawing walks, working the count. But right now, he's just not finding the holes. And the hits here is Anthony Rendon. So right now, with that .230 batting average and low power numbers, this is a perfect time to go out there and get Rendon, in my opinion. And the other thing for him is he bats right behind Shohei Ohtani, who a lot of teams, they're going to start pitching around him, in my opinion, in the next couple weeks here. While he's leading the league in home runs with 28, I think Rendon, he's going to get more good fastball counts. And he's a player I think is going to be good here the rest of the way this season. So the last few games here for Rendon: June 26th at Tampa, 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs. June 27th at Tampa, 0 for 3. June 28th at the Yankees, 1 for 3 with 2 runs scored. June 29th at the Yankees, 2 for 3. And June 30th, 0 for 3 at the Yankees with 2 runs scored. So right now, Rendon, he's too good of a hitter. He's too good of a professional. And I don't think you got to give up much at all to get him in a trade this week here, with the only .230 batting average and him really slumping pretty much the whole season. And the 5th and final hitter I look to buy low in trade for is Wilson Contreras of the Chicago Cubs. So Contreras, he's been pretty good the last few seasons in fantasy baseball and for the Cubs, but this season it's been a mixed bag of results for Contreras. On the year, 13 home runs, 30 RBIs, only a .231 batting average, .335 on base with 35 runs scored and 3 stolen bases. But the last couple weeks, he's given fantasy owners pretty much nothing. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 runs scored, a .200 batting average, and a .349 on base. So just like Rendon, the only good thing for him is he's still finding ways to get on base. And he still has 13 home runs, which is a great number, obviously, for a weak catching position this season in fantasy baseball. But right now, he really hasn't gotten hits. And right now, if you want to catch a bat in your league, this is a perfect time, in my opinion, to go out there and get Contreras while he's not showing power or average at all in the last couple weeks of the last few games for Contreras. June 24th at the Dodgers, 1 for 4 with a homer and 2 RBIs. June 25th at the Dodgers, 0 for 3. June 26th at the Dodgers, 0 for 4. June 27th at the Dodgers, 0 for 3. June 28th in Milwaukee, he sat out. June 29th in Milwaukee, 1 for 3. And June 30th in Milwaukee, 1 for 2 with a run. So right now, they've been batting him first in the last week here, are the Cubs with Contreras. And they're seeing if he could break out of his slump and get things going by seeing better pitch counts and by leading off the game. But right now, this just hasn't worked for the Cubs or fantasy owners right now with him batting first. But I think Contreras is too good of a talent, too good of a hitter. And right now, while he's struggling, this is a perfect time to go out there and buy him low. So that's a few hitters I look to buy low and trade for here in Week 13 of the fantasy baseball season.